Welcome to the Sports Lounge, a limited crew today. Travis Kriens, David Schottenkirk, Charlie Hildebrand, others to possibly join later. Mr. Schottenkirk, welcome back. How was the U.S. Open trip? Big news coming out of the U.S. Open. What is it?
Yeah, it was overall a pretty good trip. The tournament wasn't much. Kind of waited it, and it was over Friday night. Really, it was all just a matter of how much he was going to win by. It was a dominant display, probably the most dominant display since Tiger in 2000. And he won by 8. Rory won by 8 in 2011. I'd say last week was a lot more impressive because only two of the guys finished under par for the week. He hit the shots he needed to hit. A couple times he got in trouble. He got himself out of it. Big story coming out of the week is that he's not 30 years old. He's got 2 majors. The Formula One, he's got 20 plus professional wins, and he has all the makings of a guy that could ride a lot for 2 more than the next couple of years.
Any good non-golf stories?
Uh, Dinner with Jason Sobel. He used to work for ESPN. He works for the Golf Channel. I had Wednesday night. Hooked up with him and talked to him for a couple of hours, and was shared some stories. And good to see a perspective from a writer that follows it weekly and has been following for years. He had a few tidbits for me that were quite interesting. He pretty much broke the Tiger story to me then that he was going to play this upcoming week, and that if he wouldn't, it was an absolute thing was going to British no matter what. Ran into Roger Mulphy, one of the on-course reporters for NBC, ESPN. He was about 3 double cheeseburgers deep, so I didn't want to interrupt him. But other than that, it's a pretty tame week and a nice spot there in the center of North Carolina.
Are you looking forward to Fox taking over the U.S. Open coverage?
No, but hopefully it won't affect me too much. I won't be watching it. It'll be there per usual. But that's a shit show waiting to happen. Brad Norman coming in as one of the commentators, and for everybody that's sucking through that, I apologize in advance. It's going to be shit.
How many U.S. Opens is this in a row?
16.
16 in a row. So that goes back to what, 98, 99?
99.
99. Do you tape or DVR the U.S. Open, then come back and watch it later?
Usually the final round we do. Usually watch a week or two after, especially if something interesting happens. If it came down to the wire, I'll watch it a week or two. Like I said, later on tonight or whatever, just talk but nothing more than the last couple hours covered.
World Cup. Start with the World Cup. What do I got to know here? Spain is out apparently. Costa Rica is moving on. That people didn't expect that. U.S. plays here in about an hour and a half. You got some big name teams close to elimination. What are the big stories here in the first full week?
It's the tournament of upset so far.
Is that usual? Is that usual?
No, this is crazy, absolutely crazy. When it's broken down the first week and a half here, all the teams, the perennial powers and European teams are just getting destroyed. You got some surprise results all over the place, including today in our game. Algeria's kicking shit out of South Korea. It doesn't mean much to anybody, but it's a surprise nonetheless. The England's already out. Italy is on the verge of potentially going out in the group stage. Spain's out already. There's Spain's run winning 2008 and 2012 European Championships with the World Cup in 2010 is one of the greatest runs in, obviously, my life. Probably the history of soccer, but that thing got crashing into that. It was just in shock when it happened. They lost 2 games like they did. 5-1 in the Netherlands. It was just an absolute beating. But you still got your power of Germany. You still got the Netherlands there. You still got Belgium surprise team. Argentina playing all right. The group's kind of crappy. Brazil's going to be there. Still got your big team names in this next week here. The wrapping up group play is going to be interesting to see how it shakes out and matchups come down.
Does this make things more interesting then, or not?
Yes and no. I'm kind of one that likes to have the big name teams make it through around 16 and have Italy play Brazil or whatever, that kind of thing. We're still going to have a few of those matchups, but you're going to get a Belgian playing somebody or maybe a Russian next out. They're going to play somebody and get their asses kicked, which is all right too. But it's going to be interesting. There's a few teams that have completely surprised me. There's also a few teams that have tagged that on that are playing very well so far. Tracks we mentioned, Belgium, they're on their way to probably a quarterfinal run at least. It's going to be interesting.
Next week at this time, will everything be done with
What's
the
that?
this time next week will be the final 16?
Yeah,
Or when does
yeah,
that start?
we'll have the final 16, I believe, on Friday, maybe Saturday.
Okay.
Starting this week, there's going to be 4 games and 2 groups wrap up each year. So probably Friday we'll have the 16.
USA Today, a lot of scenarios for them. If they win, they're in. Uh, Prospects here, they beat Ghana. Uh, they can tie here these next two and be okay. We'll see what happens. Uh, preview here of the game today. What do they need to do?
They need to defend well. That's what's going to come down to. Obviously, Ronaldo's arguably the best player in the world. They have their formation. They got to stay on. They got a guy pounding them the entire game. They should be able to do that, but that said, Portugal's also got other guys that can beat them. There's a lot of optimism with U.S. fans right now, including Drexler, including a lot of guys that know a lot about it. But I took a gander this morning with the odds, and Portugal's a pretty heavy favorite today to win. For me, I'm hoping for a draw. I'm expecting a loss. It's kind of a downer, but they took it on the draw. They're really happy. Going to pretty much get them through the next round.
Mr. Hildebrand, you're with me in the World Cup boat here. I'm not caring a whole lot. Anything that the U.S. could do if they make a run to the semis, would that excite you? If they would somehow get to the championship, that's not going to happen. But if they were to make a huge run, would you get at all excited?
To get me to be excited about it and to watch it, assuming that I'm not working at that particular time. And I think time. Well, I guess I don't know if they did. Do they have games at like 7 or 8 at night, or are they all earlier than that?
On the weekends, there have been a couple later games that usually earlier than that.
All right. I guess if they made it to the World Cup equivalent of the Final Four, I'd probably watch it then and be a little excited. Certainly, if they made the title game, I would watch it then. But I think outside of that, it just doesn't do much for me. And I'm not going to be Mr. Super Negative and poo-poo on anyone else's fun. If you guys, if everyone else out there enjoys it, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you not to. And I hope you get as much joy out of it as you can. But it doesn't do much for me. I've just never been a soccer fan.
I lost friends again.
That kid's computer, it always seems to go out now.
Brutal. Yeah. Give it a minute here, and if it doesn't come back, probably just close out and probably open another one pretty soon.
Yeah. So I guess as a soccer guy, with Spain losing, is that like the equivalent of a 16 seed beating a 1 seed in March Madness, or is that more like a 2 or a 3 seed going down? Or is that just a bad comparison in the first place?
Well, it's not the best comparison. It's not the easiest one to work with, but obviously it's not just a one-game thing. They got into a pretty decently hard group, and they got their 2 tough games right away, and they lost them both. But I would kind of compare it to maybe an Alabama being a big favorite losing to some team they're not supposed to or something like that.
Okay.
It's a big time disappointment they didn't get out, but it's not a 16 overall.
The ratings seem to be pretty good. I'm assuming a lot of this has to do with time zone and things are on at normal times.
Right. Yeah, I saw that Germany-Ghana game yesterday. 2-2 was a great game. For Germany, obviously a big country, has a lot of influence, and people in the U.S. has some sort of influence. But Ghana, that was a 5.5 at 2:00 in the afternoon yesterday. That's a massive rating for a group game that doesn't involve the U.S.
You've got it on ESPN, you got it on Univision, so you got a couple different networks here. People are watching this thing on. 2016, Colombia, South America, so a time issue should be good there. Let's see if Qatar still has it when that World Cup comes up, which is, possibly questionable. We'll see what happens. But at least this World Cup, good ratings, and things will only continue to get better as long as the U.S. is in there. And next World Cup should be decent as well, since things are on at normal times. And lots of NBA talk. I want to get David's thoughts here on the finals, since we kind of wrapped it up last week, assuming the Spurs would win, whether in 5, 6, or 7. Games 3, 4, and 5 is dominating, as I've seen a team beat the shit out of another in an NBA Finals, especially with LeBron and those guys on the other side. I thought the Spurs would win in 7. They win in 5. I think a lot of people are shocked at how this ended up. Your thoughts there as the finals are now over?
Yeah, I think I was one of the only ones to be picking Miami coming into that series. And looking back, it was kind of a big-time mistake. Obviously, the call played out. I guess if they were more amplified. But 5 games, and other than game 2, like you said, they were blowouts. Going San Antonio and Miami twice and kicking the shit out of them. LeBron played great in all the games. So ramping up the game 1 really didn't help. But it was just a product of that roster. Besides the big 3, there's nothing there. Wade had a decent flash here there. Bosh had one good game. LeBron did pretty much what he did in the other previous finals in Miami. Just wasn't up this time around. Give it to Duncan Cockney, an all-time duo with Tony Parker and Manu. That's one of those teams where they're not flashy, but they win, and they can appreciate winning 5 championships in 15 years.
Could you make the case LeBron should have been the MVP, even though he's on the losing team and they lost in 5 by quite a few points?
No, the only way that would have happened if it would have went 7, if it would have put up the numbers like he did. I think he shot like close to 55 or 60% or something during the series. Averaged 28 to 8 and a couple of assists. And it was a great series. The only way that's ever going to happen is if one guy carries him and his team ends up losing.
I think looking back on it now, with a little bit of time to think about it, obviously we know all the stars Miami has, but other than LeBron, they're all either really old or past their prime or, on the way down. So as opposed to this being like the 2012 or the 2013 Heat, this was kind of more like that Cavs team that lost to the Spurs, where it was LeBron. And everyone was saying, yep, you take care of this by yourself, with the only difference is the other guys were really good. They just weren't good anymore, as opposed to never being good like all those Cavs players.
This year, looking back at it, you had Indiana in the East with the 1 seed, and we know how they fell apart there in the last month. And the last month of the season consists of the playoffs, and that is not good for them. But right now, how bad is the Eastern Conference? The worst I've ever seen it was in the early 2000s there with the Nets and the Pistons, and that was some garbage basketball. But without LeBron, if LeBron was in the West, how bad would the Eastern Conference be right now?
It would be brutal, and a big part of that too is that LeBron was in the West. The only mega star in the East, pretty much at that point, is Derrick Rose. He's hurt. He has been hurt the last couple of years. With Rose healthy, the East is old as an animal. It's still nowhere near the West. But if Rose is gone, LeBron's the only guy. There's only Indiana's a good team. Still young. We'll see if they do this next year and the moves that they make. Larry Bird's got some decisions to make, but it's as bad as I can remember.
That's pretty bad. I mean, I always make comparisons because apparently I'm trying to channel my inner Colin Cowherd, but I guess I would say it's like the Big East or now the American Conference in football, where it's like, yep, they're there and they're supposed to be important, but nope, don't really see it across the board. They're pretty bad. And like you said, certainly if LeBron was not in the East and was in the West, there would be almost no point in having the West play the East in the finals.
I expect everybody in Miami, all the important parts to be back. I expect them to add a pretty decent player. Is this what you expect?
I don't know what I expect, honestly. I've been going back and forth the last few days of what they're going to do, what they're going to try to do. Pat Riley's exit interview with the media last week was really, really weird. One of the better quotes asking the media if they wanted to trend something or to open his press conference. I got a kick out of that. But I kind of was right away with Melo. He opted out today. I don't feel we talked about that or not, but it's official. He's out. And he still obviously could go back to New York, but looks like Chicago's the front runner, which for me doesn't make much sense, but we can get to that later too. Is going to Miami for him would be a good move. It would at least take all the load off LeBron. He could go back to the playmaker. He wouldn't have to be the guy scoring 30 a night. Melo could take 20 shots. LeBron could take 10 or 15. And that'd be 15. So you have Wade, you have Bosh. Obviously, they'd all take massive pay cuts, but the three of them have already proved that they can do it once, why not twice. I think Melo wants to win at this stage in his career. It might be something he looks to. Outside of those two teams, the only place I see him going is to Houston.
If they want to make it work, Miami, they can. If all the players involved want to make it work. However, I don't think those involved want to make it work with the. It's a drastic pay cut that they would have to take. They'd have to all make around what, $12 million a year. So we're talking 4 years, $48 million, $50 million, something like that. And elsewhere, Carmelo can make double that. So that's a hell of a lot of money there. That's, $40, $50 million we're talking about to pretty much get a guaranteed championship or two if he were to go there. Chicago, I expect him to go to Chicago. They need a scorer, and he's a scorer, so that makes sense. How do you feel about Houston? Because I think it'd be a waste of time. Because even if they do this, they're still not better than San Antonio. I still don't think they're better than Oklahoma City. I still probably don't think they're better than the Clippers if that happens. I like that Houston's trying. I like that they signed Howard, even though I wouldn't really want Howard on my team. It's good to sign him. It's good to get Harden. Nice that they're trying, that they put pieces together, but I don't think, Houston doesn't need any more points. Chicago needs points, Houston doesn't. So I don't think it makes a huge difference if he were to go to Houston versus if he goes to Chicago, then it's them in Miami, they fight it out, see who goes to the finals.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, Houston already has enough point scorers and guys that can get buckets, but that roster, that construction wouldn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. I think they'd be a top 2 or 3 team in the West. But come playoff time, I think they'd be bringing out in the Western Conference Final or even in the conference semifinals. Again, defense, and you got Dwight there, but not much else on that end of the floor. He goes to Chicago. I put it in stone the minute he signs that piece of paper. If Rose is out at all, they win the title next year. It's as simple as that for me.
I think the real question is how come he doesn't want to go to Traxler's Timberwolves and play with Kevin Love, and nobody's talking about that.
Too many lakes. There's too many goddamn lakes for him.
That's true.
It's too many.
He's a good athlete. He could probably jump over a lake if he needed to.
That'd be a hell of an accomplishment out of him. The trade talks have heated up. Lots of rumors out there, and most of them involve the Timberwolves and the Warriors in some way or another. With the proposal there is with David Lee, Klay Thompson, and with this year's number 1 pick, or first-round pick, to Minnesota for Kevin Love. If that's out there, and I'm Minnesota, I would do that trade. You got Thompson and Lee on the books for 2 more years. You get the draft pick, mid first-round draft pick. I think that's the best they're going to do right there. I don't see another team or another deal putting an offer out there that good. Do you see anything better out there other than that?
2 things. No, I don't see a better offer. And the second part of that is if that was truly offered to Cliff and he didn't take it, because it sounds like right now that the Golden State's kind of getting cold feet and they're kind of in and on about the draft picks. If that was offered and Cliff didn't take it instantly, he needs to be fired because you're not going to find a better deal. Now we're going to wait for probably a few more months until the trading deadline and get pennies on the dollar for him like we always do. If that good a deal's there, I don't care what time of the year it is. I don't care if the draft hasn't happened. You take it instant.
Yeah, I would agree. If that's a deal that's on the table, I don't see any way you could not take that. I mean, getting decent value for him now, when later you would get next to nothing, or making the mistake of holding on to him completely and getting literally nothing when he leaves.
You're getting Klay Thompson, in my opinion, has long-term potential. There's people saying that long-term, the last 4 or 5 years, he's going to be a better, more impactful player on both ends of the court than Steph Curry out there in Golden State. That says a lot. His Curry was like second assist in the NBA this year. He put up 20-plus points a game. He doesn't defend. Thompson defends. He gets buckets. He can hit the long-range shot. He defends. He's huge. A guy like that, you get David Lee, which he's always been one of the most underrated guys, the most puzzling guys to me. He doesn't get respected in any sort of draft pick. That would be a phenomenal pick.
There's talk of Klay Thompson to the Lakers for the 7th pick. If I'm Golden State, I do not do this. I understand getting rid of Klay Thompson if you're getting to Kevin Love. I do not understand the discussion of getting rid of him for the 7th pick. I do not understand why Golden State would do that. And apparently, Golden State management very divided on what to do with him. I think that's pretty stupid for the 7th pick.
I agree, but I'm not sure on Klay Thompson's contract status. I think that might be weighing a little bit on their minds, how they can pay everybody that they supposedly have or have coming with him still on the team. One way or another, if they unloaded him this year, they could go after another guy next year. He brings a big name if they don't get one of the guys this year. But straight up to the 7th pick, it seems awkwardly not enough, considering where his ceiling's at right now.
2 years, $10-11 million. So very, very good contract there. $5.5 million a year about. So a very, very good contract for somebody of his caliber of a player. Embiid, he gets hurt, the foot problem. I guess I haven't heard when he'll be back or if he'll miss any time. He was probably going to be the first pick. He's not going to be the first pick now. Sounds like Jabari Parker is the guy for Cleveland, which I feel he should have been the guy the entire time. How far does Embiid fall? I think Philadelphia at 3. Him and Noel, that could either be really good or really bad. I'm leaning towards really bad, but I would expect him not to fall any further than 3.
I'm a bigger NBA guy than you are. We kind of talked about this week. I think his potential is huge. You said that you didn't hear how long he's been out. Well, it's 4 to 6 months, so that could play a bit of a factor in the draft and people are leaving on. I would say 4 to 6 months is on the short end of that, according to 3 or 4 surgeons we talked to with this particular injury. But I think he falls anywhere from the 5 to 7 range. I think he does take a little bit more of a fall. He's only not that experienced. The foot injury, a big guy. We've seen it before. Teams have been leery, but I think whoever takes him is going to steal him or they grab him. He's going to be a pretty good player in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, in the NBA, there's nothing scarier than a big guy with bad knees or a bad foot. I mean, especially after Sam Bowie, and I mean, there's plenty of examples. I'm not going to say he's going to fall out of the top 10. Somebody's going to take him based on his talent, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he falls to the 5-6 range, somewhere in there.
Is this foot injury enough? Should this be? I don't think it'll be a serious long-term thing. That's just a guess, obviously. Is this, if you think he is the guy, if you think he is as good as they think he's going to be, is this foot injury enough to say, no, we don't want, he may miss this entire season, he may miss half the season, we don't want him.
If you're a different year besides this, probably not. The guys at the caliber right behind him with Wiggins and Parker and my guy, it's officially my guy now, Dante Exum from Australia. I love the kid, but with those 3 guys there lined up, you might as well take one of those guys and not take the potential of maybe this injury be worse. You're still going to get a perennial all-star on one of those 3 guys. And in Parker and Wiggins, the ceiling is as high or higher than the Embiid's.
Andrew Wiggins, likely number 2 Milwaukee, so feel sorry for him going to that trash town.
You think Nate Walters will make him the best 2 guard in the NBA?
Well, Nate Walters is their best player, obviously, and he runs the ship there, Hildebrand. He is the captain of the ship. That cannot be debated.
He won Rookie of the Year, didn't he?
Best rookie I saw South Dakota State this year that played in the league. So, without a doubt. I mean, Fegan was balling it up in Presho for a time or two, but you can hardly compare the competition to the leagues in Presho. Wiggins, I don't know. I just think Jabari Parker is just head and tails the best player in the draft, just more ready, can impact things right away. People are saying this is a deep, deep draft. When it comes to me, I'm going from now on, whether it's football or basketball. I'm just assuming everybody's trash until they prove me wrong. So we'll see what Exum does. We'll see what Wiggins does. I really like Parker. See what if Embiid plays much and is effective. I like Randall from Kentucky. I like Marcus Smart from Oklahoma State. Got a couple of white guys, McDermott and Stauskas. We'll see if they can bring the white power back to the wherever they go. They say it's a deep draft. We'll see. What do you think about guys end of the lottery, middle of the first round? Did anybody excite you back there?
I got a couple of guys. You mentioned one of them already. Doug McDermott. He's a go to 10 or 12 where he's going to go towards the back end. Interesting to see if he's more than just a three-point shooter, if he can actually defend at the next level and well enough to be on the floor. Another guy I'm going to be keeping my eye on is Adrian Payne from Michigan State. The most NBA-ready body. That's going to stereotype. He's 6'8", 250, can move, he can shoot. He's going to be a pretty good player right away. His ceiling's only as high as the top-end guys, but he should be a solid player that has a 10-year career. But another point, just to round out here on top-end talent, there's 5, 6, 7 guys that are going to be at the top of this draft. If you look back the last few years, any one of these guys could have been number 1 pick 2 3 years ago. Those lesser drafts tells you how much talent that is at the top and how much is throughout the rest of the draft too.
Do you expect a lot of trades?
It's the NBA. There will always be trades.
Do you expect any trades that are going to make a difference? Like maybe Minnesota trading a point guard for no goddamn reason, or anything that we're going to look back at like, why did the Hornets trade Kobe Bryant to the Lakers? Jesus Christ, that was stupid. Something like that.
Yes, it's always possible, but my favorite part of the NBA draft is that these trades get announced after the pitch, so you have no idea who's going where, and they don't get them announced, and then you're seeing them on Twitter, and then, oh, by this way, this guy just got traded for the third time. It's pretty stupid. Whereas in the NFL, if there's a trade pitch, you know before that pick happens. In the NBA, it sometimes gets announced later.
I think my favorite thing in the NBA is okay, we draft first, so we'll draft this guy that you want, and then you draft who we want, and then we'll trade picks.
Right.
Why is there no Twitter ban on these guys? Or is there?
I don't think there is. I think it's just a byproduct of the NFL being that much better than the NBA and people caring and all the networks that are carrying this. It's a bigger event than the NFL draft and the NBA draft is. There's your basketball fans and really nobody else is going to tune in on Thursday, whenever it is. It's a disappearing melody.
I don't know what's going on.
I missed. What was the Twitter ban deal?
I was just saying that the NFL is that much bigger and people care. The networks, people that are reporting to these networks are that much more popular on Twitter, and it's not that big a deal overall for the NBA to spoil these picks, because the only people watching will be the basketball fans. You're not going to pick up Joe Schmo, the sports fan. Oh yeah, the draft's on, I'm going to watch it. It doesn't happen in the NBA.
Last year was a big success, the Sports Lounge mock draft Twitter with Mr. Schottenkirk and Mr. Traxler. Is there a revival? Will there be a second annual? Will Otto Porter show up to this one? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm hoping we got something in the works. It should be hopefully a bit more active than last year. Wasn't we got a couple right? The top of our draft was blown up when Cleveland took Anthony Bennett. But Jackson and I probably have something up our stage for this week.
to wrap up the NBA talk, Aaron Aflalo from Orlando to Chicago. Would that impact Carmelo at all? And what do you expect to happen there?
Let's put it this way. If they both end up in Chicago, if they're going to win 60, 65 games, that team's going to be unfucking believable if Derek Rose is healthy. Because Aflalo had a massive year in Orlando. He's been waiting for years for him to break out. Thankfully, I'm my fantasy team and patting myself on the back there. But if he goes and Nelson signs, that is a deadly team.
We have Marcus and Drew, big supporters of the teal and the purple. The Charlotte Hornets now have brought back the teal and the purple. Are you fans of that, like they are?
I don't know if I'm as big of a fan as they are, but I guess I like them being. I like that they wear those colors though. But I'm not going to pretend that I'm getting super excited or worked up about it.
Yeah, I'm not one to get worked up about jerseys, but I do like the looks, and I'm not some of those guys that spend hours contemplating potential matches of jersey and shorts, like the NFL or whatever. But they look good for what they are.
Apparently, even when the Hornets are no more, or when they change colors, the purple and the teal were still massive sellers, whether it was shoes or hats. What is it about the purple and the teal that people went ape shit for, that caused it to be such a big seller?
Off the top of my head, I know the Lakers wear purple, and I think does anybody else in the NBA wear purple?
Phoenix.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I guess there are some in the NBA, but I would just imagine, that nobody's got purple and teal, and I guess they just really like those. They like the striking colors.
Right. For as different as they are, they do mesh well together in a sense of it makes no sense.
I think the real jersey question is why doesn't everyone do what Pittsburgh does and have every team in that city wear the same colors?
Make it so much easier.
Yeah.
If you take basically all the secondary teams in New York, the Mets, the Islanders, the Knicks are the primary basketball team. They all have the same color. But yeah, Pittsburgh's the only one there with all three teams there with the same color. Baseball now, the Twins pitching the last 2 weeks has been tremendous. First, that Boston series, the low-scoring, one-run games. I'm going to assume if I ask you at the end of the year, give me 4 or 5 of the games that you remember the most. That game on Wednesday afternoon, 0-0 in the 10th. That's probably going to be in the top 5, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those games in the middle of the season, even though it doesn't mean much, you get into it. And a good game, one of those that's going to sting for a while, but hit a bomb there and go up 1-0 and have back-to-back at the beach, that's not going to leave your memory quickly.
And am I seeing this right? Jared Burton pitching the 9th inning with a 1-run lead.
Something's going on with Perkins. I don't. The whole Boston thing was some fishy lead or bad back and the flu or whatever that was. And I was not out there doing it. He's allowed to run the last 2 nights, but I don't know why they couldn't run out there to throw another 20 pitches. So.
Casey Fiend, 12 pitches in the 8th. 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure why he could not have pitched the 9th. It didn't go well the last time, but, Ortiz isn't going to be up here, and Napoli's not going to be up, so that's probably a good thing. But Jared Burton is 5.5 ERA trying to get the save. Why is it always flu-like symptoms? Why can't they just say it's the goddamn flu? It's always the symptoms. He has cancer-like symptoms. Either you got it or you don't. This is I guess a sports-only thing. You don't hear it anywhere else. It's not like the doctor says you have flu-like symptoms. Well, either you do or you don't.
You have broken leg-like symptoms.
Well,
I don't have a great answer. Off the top of my head, I would guess it's that they want to have that wiggle room just in case to say, well, it wasn't really this. He didn't really have mono. It was actually just a sinus infection or something like that. That's the only thing I can come up with the top of my head is they want to have the wiggle room to be able to say, oh, well, he was just sick. Or maybe they aren't really flu-like. Maybe the guy's just having a massive hangover, so they're saying flu-like symptoms because he's throwing up and doesn't feel good. I don't know.
So you're telling me this is the Nathan Stackin School of Doctoring, where I wouldn't be surprised if you've got the flu. I'm not going to outright say it, but I wouldn't be surprised, Charlie Hildebrand. Do you have gonorrhea? You may. You may. I'm not going to be the one to check it out, though.
One time playing basketball, I took one to the groin and then experienced gonorrhea-like symptoms because it burned when I peed right afterwards. But it turned out I didn't have that, so that was good.
That's a situation where that works. Twins, I mean, if they win here today, 4 in a row, the longest of the season, they're still right in the thick of things here. Trade deadline about 5 weeks away. If they're where they're at now, 4 or 5 games back, right around 500, would you expect them to trade for anybody, depending obviously on injuries and what happens? The only spot right now, maybe bullpen, and a center field's a problem. Fast forward 5 weeks, we're in the same spot we are now. Would you expect them to make a move?
If they're just a couple games out, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
maybe. But making the Morales move, and obviously that hasn't been out the race, but it's just getting the shake around into baseball form, as they say. But I wouldn't expect another big move, and I don't think even if they do, they're still contend this year. I still think they finish 75 wins, maybe somewhere in there. They obviously improved from the last 2 years. I still don't think they're definitely starting pitching is enough. The lineup has been up and down, and bullpen's been okay. But for me, I don't want them to make a move and blow a couple prospects or blow a couple guys here when you're not going to make a serious run because there's no way to do that this year.
Do you expect Rick Reed to be on this team in September?
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible. Quote him on that. Rick Reed, your 5th starter with the Minnesota Twins. Clayton Kershaw had that damn near perfect game. If you go by the game scores, which Mr. Amman has brought to our attention, I guess the second best, the second best game ever. I think he had a game score of 102, which I'm assuming it's on a scale of 100. I don't know. 102 seems very, very good. Kerry Wood with his 20 strikeout to 1-hitter versus Houston about 15 years ago, number 1. Why is it that Kershaw still really isn't like Verlander was talked about? He's terrific, and all these other guys like Roy Halladay when he was on, and Tim Lincecum, boy, this guy's great. Is it just me, or does Clayton Kershaw kind of get shit on, or maybe not shit on, but not talked about enough? Because he's on a historic run here.
Undervalued.
Or he's won like 2 or 3 straight ERA titles, which has been done by like 2 other guys ever. He probably won't win it this year, but if he would, he'd be the first one to ever win it 3-4 years in a row. Is it the West Coast thing? Obviously, the Dodgers are a very high-profile team. What is the deal here?
I think it's that. I mean, he's not necessarily flashy with his stuff. He doesn't have a 100-mile-an-hour fastball like Verlander. He doesn't have, obviously he's got some of the best breaking stuff in the league. He's on the West Coast. A lot of times people on the East Coast don't see him. Anybody didn't see that from whenever it was a few nights ago. But he got paid. He's 25 years old. Like you said, he's already decided on his ERA titles. In my opinion, he's only getting better. He had a little bit of a hiccup. He got hurt from out of the week this year, but he's going to be around for a long time. It's the national media once again not realizing that the West Coast of this country is.
I think the West Coast probably plays some of it, but yeah, like Kriens said, the Dodgers are still one of the big deal West Coast teams. I mean, I think we could probably agree if he played for like the Padres, then nobody'd know who he was. Period.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't follow that baseball that closely. I know who Clayton Kershaw is, but granted, I could probably only name like 2 other Dodgers. But I don't know. There's just sometimes there's guys that don't get the credit they deserve, and apparently as of right now he's that guy. I would think if he keeps pitching this well that's probably going to change, but we'll see.
Just a mixed match of him being, saying that that's a big market for West Coast. He's not Verlander with the stuff like I alluded to. He's not Verlander with the supermodel girlfriend, wife, whatever. He's not out in the public eye all that often. He keeps to himself. He's not very active on social media. He's not doing a bunch of commercials. It all adds up to him not being as appreciated as he should be.
Where would you rate his wife on a scale of 1 to 10? One being Liam Hendricks, 10 being Sandy Koufax. Give me a pitching comparison for Clayton Kershaw's wife.
For his wife.
I haven't seen his wife.
How about like a 1.5? Because nobody can be bad as Hendricks, but we'll
1.5.
She's
a 1.5 out of 10.
Pitching wise,
brutal.
It's just brutal.
Well, not pit. Well, oh man, that's.
Hold on.
So she's like a Liam.
Just,
she's a Liam Hendricks.
Well, okay, fine. If you're going straight looks.
Yes.
We'll go 5.5.
5.5. So what is she? So she's what? Scott Baker or
Mark Burley?
In that range.
Scott Baker, an average pitcher.
Right.
Charlie Hildebrand has your search. Come up with anything.
Nah, I wouldn't disagree with it. 5.5, 6. She's not ugly. I mean, I think.
Oh, she's.
Let's certainly not say that. I think sometimes, and we're probably being a little unfair, just in the fact that always, whenever you've got super famous, wealthy people, that everyone expects them to have, I'm trying to think of I can't think of a hot wife who's not famous off the top of my head, but.
Your mother.
Either way, you get the. Either way, you get the point, though. Like the chick that Leonardo DiCaprio pretended to be married to in The Wolf of Wall Street. There's some ladies like that, but
why is it?
I mean, if she wants to leave him, I suppose I could, lend a nice shoulder to cry on or something like that.
Chances Kershaw's wife leaves him for Hyun-Jin Ryu. Any chance?
No chance on that one. Thankfully, that'd be a disaster.
Is there a language barrier?
We'll go with the same. I'll go with the same chances as I forgot the guy's name, but you said earlier that one guy from the Twins being there in September or whatever.
Rick Reed. Rick Reed's not going to be there. Well, it's probably a pretty good point. You said that you knew who Clayton Kershaw was, right?
I do. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on him, but yeah. I remember back when we were in Brookings that we were talking about Clayton Kershaw like 3 or 4 years ago on the Sports Lounge.
Do you remember? Yeah, we did. If I was any good at this, I'd say we would get that clip up right now, and play that. Do you know who Justin Verlander is?
I do. Yeah, I don't follow baseball that closely, but whenever they talk about pitchers winning the MVP award, that's pretty easy to know.
Yeah.
And as a White Sox fan, I do know a little bit more about the AL Central than the other divisions and the National League.
Similar to.
And you said Roy Halladay earlier. I know who Roy Halladay is too.
And Tim Lincecum, I assume you know.
Yep, no, the guy with the long hair from the Giants. Who had the great year and then wasn't good the next year, and I don't know if he's good again now or not. I don't know who he is.
No, he's not all that good no more. Similar
that hair getting in his eyes, so he can't pitch, I guess.
The hell of it is his mustache the Clayton Kershaw wife of mustaches, or is it that bad? Is it that bad?
It's approaching that level. Yeah, it's bad.
Jesus. Similar to Kershaw not getting much publicity, he's not Puig. He doesn't hustle and throw guys out from 250 feet in the outfield and swing his bat like a son of a bitch. I feel like Justin Verlander's downfall has not been given enough talk, because this guy has fallen off. He hasn't fallen off the planet, but goddamn, he had a pretty good start yesterday. But Jesus Christ, his ERA is near 5. The fastball's not there. He's the third best pitcher on his team right now. Personal life aside, which apparently is an A+ at the moment. He's got a bunch of money. He's going to still continue to get a lot of money the next 5-6 years. But are you with me here that Verlander's downfall has not been covered like maybe we should have?
Yeah, to a certain extent, though. I mean, it's not like he's been this bad for a couple of years now, where that contract was absolutely a disaster. It's obviously your opinion, mine too, is that it's on the verge of that. But I think right now he's just learning that when he doesn't have the velocity, how to pitch, how to go inside, outside, use more of his breaking stuff. He doesn't have the 98 foot away in games he did a few years ago. I would expect a little bit of a resurgence in the second half. The next 2 or 3, 4 years, he's not getting as good as he was, but I would still think that he could be, a number one guy on most teams. But long term, the amount of money they're paying him, that's a very, very bad deal.
He's currently dating Kate Upton now, right? Supposedly. Yeah. So I guess his problem is he's got his hands full in his personal life.
There you go. Let's see him. They're right here. They're right here.
And who could blame him?
Kershaw,
Joe DiMaggio never had another 56-game hit streak after he married Marilyn Monroe.
Hopefully Upton doesn't die in the next 15 years. So
that's true. Hopefully not.
Be on the lookout for that. Verlander, the great year was 2011. He had the 24 wins, the MVP of Cy Young. The next year was pretty much the same. We weren't going to repeat that year, but it was very good. Last year, second half of the season was not good. His ERA jumped almost a full run. And this year's ERA has jumped over a run, almost a run and a half based on last year. And most runs given up, not very good. So Verlander, we'll see if he can adjust, because he'll be 32 next year. And from what I can tell, not throwing 98, 99 as often or whenever he wants to anymore. So we'll see if he turns it around here. Kansas City, that was a nice little story for that 10-game winning streak, but get the fuck back now. I've never been big on the Royals. Everybody going nuts the past couple of years. They got all the young guys coming up. We'll do something, for Christ's sake.
Was it 3 or 4 years ago that Sports Illustrated had that feature article that was 12 pages long about all their AA and AAA talent that was going to make them 3-time World Series champions in 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, that was a couple years ago.
I'm sure it was Tom Verducci who wrote it, because he's very good at his job and doesn't make things up at all.
I remember reading it, and it was oh, maybe they'll be good. And you know what? Like you said, other than their 10-game winning streak this year, I don't remember them going deep into the playoffs. So
this would have been probably 2 years ago. It was you and Stack and doing the radio show, and I called in. And Stack, and he was very excited about Kansas City. God damn, he liked Kansas City. And I made the suggestion of Dale Moss playing center field for the Twins, and he didn't like that. Could that be an option for Kansas City? Could Dale Moss help Kansas City, either on the mound or in the outfield?
Yes, I don't see why not.
You don't see why? Okay, good.
I mean, he could probably, worst case scenario, I think he could teach a guy who's a good athlete how to field in the outfield, and say, hey, you caught a whole bunch of passes when you didn't know anything about football, so go out there and try to hit this curveball, I guess. It can't be that hard.
Do you find it interesting that he's now putting on receiver camps and football camps? He played 1 year of college.
That I do find interesting. You think he'd be doing more basketball camp-related stuff because he has more experience playing basketball than football. But as a guy who's not, unless he's playing for some indoor league somewhere.
The LA Kiss of the Arena League, yes.
Okay, well, and good for him that he's doing that. So I guess if you're trying to get some supplemental income somewhere, and you can talk people into doing it, and either way, I think it's probably not the equivalent of going to the New England Patriots camp and having them teach you how to do things. But I would imagine if he's got some camp for 11 or 12-year-old kids, they could maybe pick up 1 or 2 things that could help them in the future.
If you were to hold a camp, what would you teach?
How to make smart aleck comments to make people laugh.
How long is this camp? Where is it at? How many days?
It'd be a week long. It would be really expensive, and nobody would walk away happy afterwards. Because I'd probably just take the money and make them watch TV shows on Netflix and just say funny stuff.
Good.
How about you? What would your camp be?
Beard growing 201.
There's a lot of people that need help in that. Obviously, us three do not.
No, this is the goddamn beard lounge this week. Amon can grow something when he wants to. Mr. Traxler, I'm calling him out. That's a goddamn embarrassment. Mr. Stacken should have a clean-shaven face at all times.
Yeah, since we don't have any of the baby faces here, I mean, we can just go ahead and admit that the reason for growing a nice beard is just to prove that you have better genes than somebody else. It's like, no, genetically, I'm better than you are.
There you go. It's it's very warm at some times since it is the summer. How is the beard game in the summer compared to other times? Is it affected at all? Do you maybe shave it more, keep it at bay before it gets out of control, or does it bother you at all when it is 85 to 90 degrees?
For me, it's a little bothersome when it's warm outside. I got to do a better job of keeping the neck beard under control in the summer. And there's usually some point where I say, you know what, we're just going to get rid of this. And then I do. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, I've got another beard. What do you do, Schottenkirk? How's your beard look in the summer?
Well, for me, I usually keep it more trimmed, a little bit shorter than usual. Okay. But I'm never a big proponent of neck beard guys. I usually just got the strap coming
probably in an hour.
Connected, but it does get warm if I do let it go too long, or if I got the neck coming in. So you keep it a little more maintained, anyways.
No.
3 guys that can do this. Craziest facial hair you've ever had. I know there was a point in time I had the Triple H, where you've got nothing here and you've got the sideburns that go down and then connect to the mustache. I rocked that for about 3 days once.
Yeah, I've had a thin strap come down and still can't think what the name of it is, but nothing too out
over here.
I've seen several guys with this the big huge soul patch and that kind of thing, but.
I used to rock the Abe Lincoln, too, where it was just the sideburns all the way down with no mustache and no neck beard.
I like it.
It was kind of fun.
Around 11, yeah, it was about that time. Yeah.
This is a classic moment.
How great what is Traxler's problem, though? What is it?
He just doesn't want it. He just doesn't want to. He doesn't like it. Never liked the way
All right, I'll bring it over.
Living with him for a year or two, it was just 2 or 3 days, and he just couldn't stand it. He probably could grow something, but it wouldn't. It wouldn't look right on him.
Right.
I won't lie. There are times, occasionally, I wish that, like some people that can't grow it. Period. It'd be nice to go like a month and be like, nope, I don't have anything, so I don't really have to worry about shaving ever. So there are some positives. It's just that you're less of a man, but.
Right.
Besides that, it's fine.
Yeah.
Big time left turn here. Left turn here for a second. The U.S. Women's Open's just wrapping up today. Michelle Lee's on the verge of completely belonging this. It's going to be epic. She might hold on.
24?
Yeah, she's 24. She's got a 3-shot lead, and she's in trouble here on 16.
This would be her first.
Her first major, yep.
Has she lived up to the hype?
No, the hype on Ellen.
Is it too early? Is it too early yet to close the book?
It's too early to close the book completely. If she wins this, she's 24 years old. People are going to realize she's been in the spotlight for 12, 14 years now. It's crazy to think that she's still just a couple years older than I am. But if she wins this one, she's got 1 win this year. She's got 4 or 5 professional wins, but at this point in her career, 10 years ago, you would have thought she would have had probably double as many wins, if not more.
Just for fun, I'm looking up who's got the most majors in the LPGA. Does anybody know who that is? Patty Berg. Patty Berg with 15 from 37 to 58. Annika Sorenstam's the only one in the top 5 I've heard of, and she has 10.
Is Verena Ochoa up there or no? She's in the 5, 6, 7, maybe.
Where's Diedrich Harrius at? Come on.
I'm not seeing either of those names in the top 10 or 15 or so.
No.
Where's Colin Montgomery?
He would at least have one or two LPGA majors.
I remember didn't he win like 5 Nabisco Opens in a row there in the late 20s? I mean, he really just beat the hell out of the competition. I do remember that. July 4th coming up 2 weeks, 2 Fridays from now. And as Hildebrand knows, that means the big UFC pay-per-view every year.
That's right.
This one, not doing it for me. Silva and Sonnen, probably the most anticipated fight, the best story going in. That's not going to happen. Ronda Rousey, yeah, I'll enjoy her breaking another arm in the first round, so that'll be fun. Lyoto Machida has some pretty boring goddamn fights, so I hope Chris Weidman makes quick work of him. You got Faber there, 3rd or 4th from the top. I'm not feeling this pay-per-view whatsoever, because if it's July 4th, you got to get big names. I know Vasquez is hurt. I know Cain Velasquez is hurt. I know Silva broke his goddamn leg. John Jones fighting here in a couple months, but not much going on in 2 weeks here.
No, it's not the prototypical big, massive names. And obviously, you got a couple championship fights and this and that. 1 through 7 or whatever main card's going to be the fight-wise. I'm maybe excited for 2 of them, which is very rare for that card. I'm usually excited for over half the card, but it is at this point. It is, but you got to understand that sometimes injuries happen, sometimes things change. You're not going to have these massive blowouts and massive iconic cards as they have been in the last few years, but we'll see how it goes. I think Weidman probably will end Machida quite quickly, but
yeah, I guess Faber's on the prelim, so he's the main event of the prelim, so that's something to look forward to there on the on Fox Sports 1. We're halfway through this ungodly goddamn year where they have every week, every 2 weeks that there's fights on, and is it worth doing these cards if they're not worth a damn? I understand the point of getting into a lot of different markets and putting on shows, but if you're headlining fight nights with guys that are barely in the top 10, I mean I don't know the positives. I don't know the positives of that. Watering down the product.
The Johnny Manziel money sign for Dana White and Company. It might not be the best for the viewers, and I really kind of not like them having sometimes 2 events on the same day now, and all hours of the day. If you want to wake up, if they're going to have an event here in a month or 2 in New Zealand, it starts at like 4 a.m. local time. There's one or 2 fights that might actually be interesting. There's no way I'm waking up to watch it, though. It's just they're going all over the world, and that's what they've always wanted to do, is becoming a worldwide brand. But it's they have betrayed their U.S. fan base. They're never going to. They're still going to have Vegas. They're still going to have mass fights here all the time. But going out into these other markets is kind of taken away from the allure that it had for us here in America.
It's amazing to think that even like 2 years ago they had now 20, 24 some cards, your pay-per-views and your TV fights, and now it's like 50. I mean, that's a massive goddamn jump from 1 year to the next. Because you got the pay-per-view on the 5th, you got the Ultimate Fighter finale, Penn and Edgar on the 6th. That's the very next night on a Sunday. You got a fight night, Cerrone and Miller on the 16th. You got another fight night, for Christ's sake, on the 19th. I mean, Jesus Christ almighty. And July 26th, you got Lawler and Brown. That's on Fox. I mean, you've got, what, five in the span of 3 weeks? That's insanity.
Well, it is what it is. If you think about that for a second, put those 5 fights with nothing really else going on in the calendar besides baseball. This is kind of the down portion of the year. You have the World Cups going on, but you don't have football. You don't have the NBA. You don't have all those other things. So if you're going to get some random guy to, I'll watch this stuff because there's nothing else on, this is where you're going to gain some people maybe pick up start falling or something like that. And plus the money's probably good enough because boxing's programming, all these other places.
They probably won't do this because they'd make less money. But I would say, like I've said before, way in the past, that what professional wrestling should do too, and they'll certainly never do this because they'll make less money, is I would just say that, like lots of sports, just have seasons where you do it. And, if you have the UFC season go from, I don't know, like April or May until right up till the start of football season, and you do stuff in there to get people excited about it, and so it's not all year long, and try to not oversaturate it. I think from an excitement standpoint that could work, but I don't think they would do that though because they wouldn't make as much money then.
Of those 4 or 5 cards coming up, if you took the top fight and put them on July 5th, I think you'd have a really, really good card then. But you have Cerrone and Miller headlining. Well, that's really not a headliner. That'd be good as part of that July 5th show. But and Lawler as well, put him on there. But not what we've expected from our big July 5th show.
Right, but I will say this though, that Cerrone Miller, that's going to be an absolute war. And I simply cannot wait to see Lawler versus Brown. That is going to be. It's already 3 weeks out here, 4 weeks out here. It's already in my book. Candidate fight. My expectations are through the roof for that fight. It is going to be insane.
Are you looking forward to that more than any other fight in the next month?
Yeah, one particular fight. Yeah, I'm absolutely. I'm not that interested in watching the shooter. I am all in for that fight over a month out. I cannot wait for that fight to happen because that's going to have massive implications on the title. It's going to be a war, and it's going to be the place is going to be going nuts.
Silva and Brown, we didn't get a chance to talk about a month and a half ago. It was on late, Fox Sports 1 late. I didn't see any other fight that night. I saw that fight. And I was very happy that I did see that fight. Because that's a fight that you show Hildebrand and Traxler, and you're like, this is very good. This will be in anybody's top 5 as far as fight of the year or not.
Yeah, for racking my memory real quick, that would be probably my fight of the night, part of the fight of the year so far. It was one of those, I hate to use legendary, but it was a legendary battle. It's the way it broke down, and Brown bringing it, Silva taking shot after shot after shot. But yeah, if you're going to want to get anybody interested, that's definitely a fight you rewind and rack the tape on.
Let's get a quick wrestling update here. You got the pay-per-view, and next week's the pay-per-view, the Money in the Bank. You got the title on the line. You got 7 guys in the ladder match for the title. Any favorites? Anybody you expect coming out of that? Really in a weird spot with Daniel Bryan, with the neck injury, and really put a wrench into plans.
Yeah, massive wrench. If you got there in front of you, run through those 7 names real quick. So
I'm assuming it was playing Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam for the title. Right. But you got the Money in the Bank. You got Randy Orton. You have John Cena, Bray Wyatt, Cesaro, Sheamus, Del Rio, and Roman Reigns. Just looking at it, I mean, you got a lot of guys in that match that, Del Rio's not getting it. Sheamus isn't getting it. Cena and Orton probably shouldn't get it. They've had it quite often. You look at Cesaro. It's very interesting to see where Brock Lesnar fits in here, since he'll be back for SummerSlam, and will he face the champion at SummerSlam? So you look at it from that point. Roman Reigns is their next guy. Do you give it to him this soon? I would say no. I would hope he would win it at a win a Royal Rumble, win at WrestleMania. Really build that up over months instead of a quick run right there. Yeah. So and Bray Wyatt, he'll get it at some point, but I don't know where he would fit in with the title right now. So I'm looking at Reigns right now as winning it, but I think that would be too early.
Yeah, I'm completely on the same boat. I think, as you said, Cena and Orton have both had it a bunch. But knowing that Lesnar's going to be in the main event and fight at SummerSlam, those two are your safest options. It's not close. We all know that. Roman Reigns, I would love to see it, but I would, on the other hand, it's too early. He has a lot more to. He's been the last 6 months have been huge for him, but there's still another level he can take it to, and I can't wait to see that. With 1, 2, 3, I think those would be the three guys. I'd be kind of surprised if, unfortunately, it wasn't the overseer that went to SummerSlam to face Lesnar. Cesaro, another interesting name, but once again, you don't use up all your guys right now because you don't have to. You can save for a year or two. Guys like Cena or whatever are getting older and they're not constantly always in the big time events.
I have a.
Give me Cena to win it because he's the WWE's guy.
I've got a scenario in my head here that I heard. In 8 days here, who will be the WWE Champion at the end of that pay-per-view?
What's that?
In 8 days, who will be the champion in 8 days? I've got a scenario in my head here that I'm going to share. But if you're counting on a guy,
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle. Very good.
If I had to pick, I would go. I'm a homer in the sense I'd take Orton.
You'll take Randy Orton. I'll take Seth Rollins to be the champ at the end of the pay-per-view. He'll win the Money in the Bank. Roman Reigns will win the ladder match. Roman Reigns gets cashed in on that night. Seth Rollins wins it. That is my scenario.
I would get you on the phone with Vince McMahon as soon as possible because that's a great plot. That would be pretty cool to see.
As far as the actual Money in the Bank ladder match, you got Rollins in there. I would assume he will win this. You got a bunch of retards in there with him. Dean Ambrose notwithstanding. Anybody else that you would either, those two are got to be the favorites, and I would assume Seth Rollins far and away.
Yeah, Rollins is the guy. He would be. I would be all kinds of philosophy if he wasn't the guy to win that.
And if you really want to get interested here, you give Randy Orton the win, and then you have Seth Rollins cash in on Randy Orton that night or in the future, and you really, storyline-wise, that would make sense since they're somewhat aligned right now. So I believe in years past it's been Money in the Bank, and then it's been SummerSlam, but now you have a pay-per-view in between, so you got to figure out what you do there. So plenty of interesting things coming up on the horizon. Sting is still not there, Charlie. So
it takes a get there to get me to pay attention.
So
or if The Rock comes back.
If December, January.
If we get to the Rumble before Sting shows up, I'll be concerned. But talking to me in January if he's not there, then we'll. But he's gonna show up one of his big time pay-per-views. He'll show up and do something on the spot or whatever. And people are starting to wonder already. Oh, is this just a big story? He'll be there. He'll be the Canadian expert and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's really nothing for him to do at this point. I'm assuming he'll have one match only at WrestleMania. Who he will, it's not going to be The Undertaker at this point, I wouldn't assume. So I don't know who. Maybe it's a tag match of some sorts. I don't know what to do with them. But, unless we get to December and January and then there's nothing done. DVD, I guess, apparently of him coming out here in September, I believe. Yeah. So something's getting done.
Sting and Lex Luger against Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. Oh, wait, can't be Randy Savage. Never mind, somebody else.
Well, usually I make inappropriate comments like this, Charlie, but, you're swimming in the barbecue money these days.
Yeah.
You can pay them off. Anything else that we missed before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. Michelle, we righted the ship. Obviously, you guys love my women's golf off days, but it looks like she's going to hold on winning for Navy. But that's unfortunate because another thing.
According to whatever baseball metric that they have billions of, you said that they were rating Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout game as the number one.
Yes, yeah. Either 9-inning game or whatever the criteria was. But yeah.
this is a cop-out answer. I'd go with the Don Larson perfect game just because it was in the World Series. But yeah, if you take away the significance and just look at the game itself, then yeah, I could see how those two would be 1 and 2.
Very good. We were going to promote the Traxler Stacking two-man show. They'll be, I believe, I don't know if I want to break this news since they're not here, but they were going to be in Sioux Falls at the District with T-Pain.
Oh,
we'll have.
Are they arriving by boat?
They're on a boat. Yes, they're on a mother effing boat. So maybe, but we'll see if Traxler watches this or listens to it. If not, and even if he does, I wanted to spring on him a surprise. I heard that you and T-Pain have a lot of history. Went into business together back in the past. Opened up a pet shop back in the early '90s there in the Rapid City area, just to see what he would say. So if you didn't enjoy this show, tune in next week. We'll talk some nonsense about T-Pain and tornadoes and floods, all that good stuff here. Things that you would expect, weather updates, right here in the Sports Lounge.